Oh, wow, wonderful sharing from Xander and Andrew. And I also very enjoy the days working with Plaid's team. It's quite good. Okay, so today we will have, this is the last part of this morning session, so I will be the man between you and the lunch, so I will try my best. Here's the agenda. We have multiple sections in this talk. Let's get started. So, previous talk from Xander really brought me back to why we started this project in the first place. So, before deep diving to the future roadmap of TiDB, I think it's a perfect moment to reflect on the past. So, here are some key milestones that stand out for me. I think from this moment in the TiDB's history, we can identify some of the core themes in the TiDB's product development. So let's get started. In 2025, the first moment was I remember when TiDB, for the first time, can successfully run TPCC benchmark, so on my laptop. And there's a fun fact here. Unlike most of the database company, we started to build a database from the SQL layer, not from the storage engine. So yeah, at that time, just like Max mentioned in his keynote, because we think SQL is essential to the intuitive experience of using database from the user. And so that's why we decided to start it with the SQL layer. So you can see, but the number digit is very small here, but I would say it's a single digit, so literally baby step. And in 2017, the next key milestone come to my mind was the release of TiKV. Now today, TiKV is the storage foundation of the whole TiDB project. So after the first, we released the TiDB SQL layer. After a year and a half, we built TiKV project from ground up with Rust. And it became the distributed storage foundation of the TiDB. So at this moment, we can finally call the TiDB project as a real database. So this picture presents the day when we released TiKV. We asked CNCF to say, hey, can you borrow us some machine? We want to do some scalability test about TiKV. So this is the benchmark result of the scalability test for the first time of TiKV, and it's really amazing. It surpassed 100 terabytes. So yeah, that's why we said we are, the scalability is at our core. So okay. The next moment, as TiDB evolved, more and more customers started using, TiDB to replace their very huge MySQL instance. But we found that more and more users began to run mixed workload on TiDB. Not only the OLTP workload, but also running some ad hoc and real-time complicated query on TiDB's SQL engine. So we think it makes sense because developer often picks the simplest route to build their application. So instead of asking customer to shift to another OLAP databases, we chose to strengthen our support for the analytical queries, which led to the creation of TiFlash. It's a very it's like a sidecar here. I'm super proud of that. And the next moment, fast forward to 2021, when we launched the TiDB Cloud for the first time. It is a fully managed service on public cloud. So I would say it is just not the product or technology. It is more like, it marked TiDB's transition from the technology to the service. So today, I'm proud to say that TiDB Cloud Dedicated have already served hundreds of enterprise customers already. It's battle tested. So The next moment, most recent moment, is our fastest growing ever product, which is TiDB Cloud Serverless. You know, under a year since its GA, today we have more than 50,000 clusters actually running on this cluster, on this TiDB serverless tier. So I would say I'm a database engineer. This project is my baby. And this project is not only a technical innovation, but it also carries our visions about the future of database technology. So very excited. So behind all of this, and behind thousands of commits and hundreds of features, there are a few key pillars, I believe, that capture the essence of TiDB's product development. So I summarize into these three key pillars. The first is operational efficiency and flexibility and scalability. Last but not the least is innovation. So the first pillar, operational efficiency. We are a database company at our core. We will not forget we are a database company because there are some essential capability of a database, such as stability, performance, ease of use, cost efficiency. All of these are our top priority, as a database company. So just like this year, I talked to our TiDB R&D team. Let's focus on the fundamentals. And these are the foundations of why customer or why users trust us and why users use TiDB. And so today I will make the commitment that our major investment will continue to strengthen this fundamental of our product. So that means higher performance, more stable, so that our customer can be even more worry-free using TiDB in a large scale. So the second pillar is about flexibility and scalability. So Max have already covered the scalability in detail in his talk, so I won't deep dive into that again. I rather focus on the flexibility part. Unlike a lot of different database vendors, we want to provide a one-stop solution. And we want to support as many workload and scenario as possible while remaining the environment agnostic. So that's why our goal is to maintain the user experience consistency, whether it's on-prem or on cloud. So the third part is, the keyword is innovation. So I talked to a lot of our customers. One of the reasons they chose TiDB is because it's advanced and future-proof architecture. I think part of the reason is because we built TiDB from scratch. That allows us to embrace innovation without the legacy constraints. So speaking of the innovation, there are a lot of examples within PingCap, for example, like from developing TiDB serverless using the cutting-edge architecture to more recent projects like we adding vector index to TiDB just within in the couple months to support AI-driven applications. So I would say these three pillars guide TiDB's product roadmap. So up next, I want to ask my amazing colleague, Mark, to introduce some key updates coming to TiDB in the 6 months. Over to you, Mark.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, good morning, everyone. Is this working? Oh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Donsky, and I'm in the product management group here at PingCap. Ed just spoke about the 3 core pillars of our product strategy. Operational efficiency. Let me jump ahead. Operational efficiency, flexibility and scalability, and innovation. I'm going to be sharing with you how we're going to be executing on each of those areas and delivering value to you in each of the offerings of TiDB. First off, let's just take a quick recap of the 3 offerings that we have, the 3 different products. You've heard about each of these already. So TiDB Cloud Serverless. This is on the left. This is our fully managed auto-scaling solution designed for developers as well as growing startups who want to deploy and move quickly without worrying about any infrastructure. With pay-as-you-go pricing, it's perfect for cloud-native applications and for organizations that expect to grow quickly. In the middle, we have TiDB Cloud Dedicated. This is our fully managed offering as well, but it's for enterprises with more complex workloads. It gives organizations the control, the performance, and flexibility they need to run mission-critical applications, all while letting them choose which cloud provider they want to run on. And finally, on the right, we have TiDB Self-Managed. TiDB Self-Managed is ideal for businesses that want the maximum in flexibility and full control over their infrastructure. Whether it's running on-prem or in your private cloud, TiDB Self-Managed is the perfect solution for organizations that need maximum flexibility and performance while running in your own environment. Together, these three products provide our comprehensive portfolio for any business, from fast-moving startups and individual developers all the way up to large-scale enterprises that need large-scale mission-critical workloads running on TiDB. So now let's take a look at TiDB Serverless. So first off, you've heard this already several times today, but I just want to emphasize that we are super excited and proud, and thanks to all of you, for the fact that as of today, across AWS and GCP, worldwide, we have over 55,000 clusters running in TiDB Cloud Serverless. Now, what that means, if we start looking at the users working with TiDB Cloud Serverless, we have a large number of organizations that are taking mission-critical workloads, running them onto TiDB Cloud Serverless, but we also have lots of developers that are starting their workloads and running them on Cloud Serverless. And this is informing our roadmap. So what our strategy is to take more and more of the TiDB Cloud dedicated mission-critical capabilities and bringing them in to TiDB Cloud Serverless so more and more customers can enjoy those benefits. There are a couple of areas there that I want to highlight. First off, we will soon be announcing, or soon be delivering, up to 4 nines of availability in TiDB Cloud Serverless. This means that we'll be offering industry-leading availability with almost zero downtime, full protection against zone outages, all in TiDB Cloud Serverless with pay-as-you-go pricing. This is already available in TiDB Cloud Dedicated, and now we're introducing it to serverless customers. Additionally, as we have with Dedicated, we'll be introducing full wire encryption, so you can enjoy state-of-the-art leading security for all of your data in transit, in addition to the data at rest. So that's taking TiDB Cloud Dedicated enterprise capabilities into TiDB Cloud Serverless. But let's also take a look at how we're making the lives of developers much better with more capabilities for you to innovate and develop faster. First off, cross-cluster restore. So one of the big pain points with developers is standing up new environments. So say you have a development environment and you want to move it to test, or you have a production environment and you want to create another environment off of that for test or development purposes. You'll be able to do that in TiDB Cloud Serverless in the coming months in a couple of clicks. This is also really important for resilience if you want to be able to move one production cluster over to another environment. And now, in a moment, later on in the presentation, we're going to go into much more detail about our innovation on the AI ecosystem. But what I'd like to do is take a look at one of the standout capabilities called the Index Advisor. So one of the big challenges that developers have when you're delivering high-scale applications, certainly there are a lot of things. Like you have to design appropriate schemas that scale. You have to figure out a lot of challenges to make sure that your applications run efficiently. But one of the biggest challenges is index optimization. And it's very difficult to figure out which indexes you need to create. Of course, there's always a cost associated with creating indexes, but there's also a science associated with making sure that you deliver the right ones so that your application is performing as best as possible. We've taken all the magic out of that and put it into TiDB Index Advisor, which will automatically monitor your environment and identify potential performance problems and suggest absolute with great precision the indexes that you need to create, and we'll even provide the code for you so you invoke the DML in a single click. We're going to take a look in the next slide about a quick demo with that. Now in this demo I'm going to show you, it's pretty quick, but the idea here is if you're familiar with the OSS Insights website, this is backed by TiDB. So suppose you're a developer on OSS Insight, you come out with a new capability, it lets you star certain projects, and then you can go to a certain project and see the aggregation of all the stars and start understanding which projects people are interested in. More generally, it's just a new feature that you roll out into in an application that's backed by TiDB. But it turns out that when you roll out this new feature, performance comes to a grinding halt. What I'll show you in this demo, how first you'll see the performance coming to a halt, but second, you'll be able to quickly jump over to the TiDB Cloud serverless console, and you'll see that the index advisor identifies the performance problem, suggests a solution, and allows you to click for that solution and deploy it in production or your test environment in a couple of seconds. So let's take a look. So here we are in the OSS Insights. We go over to a certain project, and now here we see the performance problem. Actually ran pretty quickly, but down here you can see it's loading for a long time. This is the issue. We would like that to be much faster. So let's jump over to the serverless console. You can see the performance issues that are popping up, and here is the index advisor, suggesting a particular index. And then we can just simply apply the index advisor. Here's the DML. It will be delivered in the environment. Of course, the index takes a little bit of time to run. And it takes longer than I expected. So normally what would happen, I think it's a PowerPoint issue, but then we would just jump over to the serverless, OSS Insights, and we would see that the performance runs properly. So in just a couple of clicks, this is really important because like the more we think about these developers that are working, and all of you, of course, folks that are working with TiDB, you often have a lot of MySQL expertise. You often have a lot of expertise with developing schemas, but when it comes to delivering petabyte and terabyte scale applications, it's really challenging to identify the right indexes that will deliver the best performance results. And we put all of that in the hands of not just the most experienced developers on TiDB, but all developers with TiDB Cloud Serverless to be able to optimize the performance in a couple of clicks with deep insight that we deliver right to you. So we're really excited, and this will be in production in the coming months. So now let's switch over to TiDB Cloud Dedicated. So one of the challenges with, or rather, our main area of focus with TiDB Cloud Dedicated is making sure that all organizations can deliver it regardless of their infrastructure strategy, whatever your cloud provider is. What we're most excited about with TiDB Cloud Dedicated is that we're going to be delivering full and comprehensive Microsoft Azure support. It'll be available in preview by the end of this year, and it'll be generally available by the end of next year. Now, in addition to this, this means that, of course, you'll be able to deliver run TiDB Cloud Dedicated not just on AWS and Azure and GCP, but also Azure. So whichever cloud provider is important for you, we'll be able to support you there. But another area that's really important is making sure that there are certain catastrophic events that happen in cloud providers. I've been working in the cloud industry for about 6 years now. It's rare that you get catastrophic events like entire regional outages, but when you do, you need to make sure that you have some disaster recovery approach in place. We already have, with TiDB Cloud, both serverless and dedicated, with the capabilities I spoke about, full protection against zone outages. RPO 0, RTO 0, complete failover, automatic protection from zone outages. When it comes to a full region outage, it's really important to have a disaster recovery plan in place as well. With TiDB Cloud Dedicated, we'll soon be introducing very straightforward, single-click, multi-region disaster recovery. So in the event of a full-blown catastrophic event from the cloud provider, if the entire region goes out, you'll be able to restore to a secondary region in a couple of clicks. This will be available on AWS initially, and we'll be rolling it out to all 3 cloud providers shortly afterwards. Another important area for a number of the workloads that are running on TiDB Cloud Dedicated is making sure that we can handle the most complex of workloads. In a moment, I'll be talking about TiDB Self-Managed, and I'll be saying that TiDB Self-Managed is the most flexible, the most adaptable, the most customizable. We want to take a lot of those capabilities and bring it into the cloud offering so you can leverage a fully managed offering and focus on innovation rather than management if you choose to do so. And one of the areas that we're going to do that in is by delivering full support for 64 virtual CPU machines. This will allow you to have even better control over P99 latencies and be able to process even larger workloads with more efficiency, if you choose to do so. Similarly, one other area that I wanted to highlight is TiDB node groups. So one of the real advantages of TiDB is that you have full control over scaling your compute resources, your storage resources, and your analytics resources. And you can scale all of them independently. So if you have, say, an archive workload and you want to scale up your storage but not your compute, you can do that cost effectively and efficiently. Similarly, if you have a relatively small amount of data but lots of compute, you can scale that up. Now, with TiDB node groups, we can start looking at the compute groups and start segmenting the different types of workloads in there. So say you're a ride-sharing application, and you want to have dedicated resources for your rider service accounts versus your driver service accounts. You'll be able to do that with TiDB node groups directly in the console. Similarly, if you want to have some late-stage test workloads that are isolated from your production workloads, you'll be able to segment some of your compute resources using TiDB node groups to do that with complete control and trust over ensuring that your test workloads will never impact your production workloads. So a quick point on TiDB Cloud Dedicated. I spoke about the momentum with TiDB Cloud Serverless, and with Dedicated, we're super proud and grateful as well for the momentum that we've seen here as well. You've heard some of these metrics already today, but I just want to highlight, first off, in terms of scale, we have single cloud tenants that run over 1,000 nodes of TiDB Cloud. These are massive, massive workloads. And not only that, in terms of performance, these workloads process over 4 million queries per second. Massive amounts of data with complete ease, complete strong consistency, and all the benefits you get from TiDB Cloud. And finally, in terms of volume, we have customers that are processing upwards of 1.5 petabytes of data. So together, these capabilities are making TiDB Cloud a trusted platform for our customers, and we're committed to making it stronger and stronger for more and more of your workloads when you choose to run in fully managed environments. So now, let's switch over to TiDB Self-Managed. So the idea with TiDB Self-Managed, I already mentioned that this is the most flexible, the most customizable offering that we have. If you choose to run it on your own infrastructure, you can run it in your own data center, you can run it in your private cloud. One of the things that we found is that although it's self-managed, we hear from customers that you want to reduce the management burden. You want to make sure that, in general, we have so much expertise in our fully managed offerings. We'd like to bring that expertise into TiDB Self-Managed so you can leverage all of the expertise and make sure that you're managing your cluster with optimal performance and minimal resources. One of the areas that we'll be doing that in is with the TiDB Management Console. We'll be bringing all of our management consoles together, whether it's the dashboard or other capabilities, into a single world-class management console that will let you monitor, manage, and upgrade your TiDB clusters with complete ease. And not only that, we'll have full integration with all of the broader management frameworks, such as New Relic and Datadog. Now, another area, and we heard briefly about this in the previous presentation, one of the big challenges, and I'll just front load this by saying I've worked in the horizontally scalable relational database space for several years now. And one of the big issues I've seen is that multi-tenant customers or SaaS customers have a big challenge, not in terms of the overall scale or the queries. These are problems that you can see we've handled quite well. But one of the big challenges is the sheer number of tables and the amount of metadata associated with those tables and being able to manage that at scale. And it's not just having, like, say, 1 million tables. It's also making sure you have query optimization for those tables, appropriate index performance on those tables, appropriate backup and restore controls for massive amounts of metadata, not just the data itself. And what we're super excited about, especially for our multi-tenant and cloud users, is that we'll be introducing full support for up to 1 million tables in a single TiDB self-managed cluster. This will be a huge breakthrough for customers who are running in SaaS with significant reduction in overhead of manageability and so on. Now, what I'd like to do is jump into 2 other quick topics just before I hand off. One is security. So one of the reasons that I joined PingCap, one of the main reasons I joined actually, is the company's commitment to security and privacy. This is an area that I've worked in for the past decade. Now, there are a lot of different ways to look at security. We can look at it in terms of a bunch of regulatory standards and a checklist of all the compliance, GDPR, CCPA. I think I've listed a bunch of them here. SOC 1, 2, and 3, there are ISO standards. But one of the things that I've learned over the years that's even more important than the individual compliance within specific standards is what I call holistic privacy readiness, making sure that you have all the controls in place to adapt to any new regulation that comes out and any modifications to existing regulations. For anyone who's been around for GDPR, you know that GDPR had been refined many, many times, and each company had a different interpretation of it. What's really important is that you have controls in place, such as fine-grained access control, encryption of data at rest and in transit, customer-managed encryption keys if you want better control over the actual security. All of the various building blocks will let you and your legal teams assess what you need to do, and we'll, of course, work with you on that, to ensure that you're compliant with any of the emerging privacy standards out there. Moreover, on top of all of that, we have strong controls in place to do both internal and external third-party assessments of our code to ensure that we have full disclosure in terms of all of the capabilities we have and the security associated with it, and make sure that it's certified through third-party companies. So we're going to continue to be certified with all of the emerging standards, but I also want to make sure that you know that we're continuing to invest in all the building blocks so that you can be prepared for emerging standards. Now finally, vector search. So you've heard quite a bit about this. For those of you who were here yesterday, you heard about it as well. And vector search has been available in TiDB Cloud Serverless for quite some time now, for just about a year, I believe. And we'll be bringing vector search into TiDB self-managed so that it'll be available for all of our self-managed customers, and will also make its way into TiDB Cloud Dedicated. The reason vector search is so powerful, not only does it enable a whole variety of AI applications such as chatbots and recommendation engines, but having it fully integrated with TiDB allows you to have a central data store for both your emerging AI applications, as well as your transactional applications, which often feed into the AI applications. You don't have to do any data preparation, data movement, data engineering. Everything can run directly on TiDB. So this will provide a very powerful platform for your AI and data needs. So just quickly in summary, we're quite confident, or we're proud to say that we believe we're the best platform for modern, scalable internet applications with a variety of capabilities. You know, automatic sharding is a huge, for anyone who's moving from MySQL over to TiDB, having automatic sharding reduces a huge amount of overhead for your operations groups. We always optimize the shards in your environment. But we also have built-in real-time analytics, full OLAP processing, fully integrated with your existing OLTP workloads. So you can do analytics, and you can scale up your analytics workloads, as I mentioned before, with independent compute nodes, totally independent of your OLTP transactions. Moreover, we're the only vendor with full MySQL compatibility, so you can leverage all of your MySQL expertise directly on day one with TiDB. Combined, this gives you the flexibility and the performance you need to grow your business. But we're also AI ready, and that's the area that I'd like to talk about now. So not only do we have vector search and more AI capabilities and very rich partnerships with AI companies out there, what I'd like to do now is take this a step further and introduce Jerry Liu from Llama Index, and he'll talk about how our partnership is enabling even deeper integration with AI-driven applications. Thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. Thanks for having me. I'm Jerry, co-founder, CEO of Llama Index. For those of you who don't know, Llama Index is a data framework and also platform to enable engineers like yourselves to build LLM-powered applications over your data. How many of you are familiar with ChatGPT? Should be most of you, right? Okay. How many of you are familiar with this concept called retrieval augmented generation? Okay, like a decent chunk of the room. Great. So let's get started. One of the main use cases with Gen AI, with LLMs today, is this idea of building a knowledge assistant. And so basically, if you think about this overall idea of, you have a lot of data within your enterprise, and you want to leverage the reasoning capabilities of your LLMs, how do you build a system that can take in any input of any complexity and then generate an output from that that has context over your data? And so that's one of the primary use cases for Gen AI today in terms of automating the synthesis of knowledge from your private corpus of data using the power of Gen AI. Of course, this is going to necessitate a few components within the stack to make this type of application possible, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But it's basically this idea of building a knowledge assistant over your data where again, the goal is to, given your data, take in some input and give back an output over it. One of the main issues with building any of these applications these days is that it's oftentimes very easy to prototype something. So if you follow like a YouTube tutorial of how to build like a chatbot over your data with GenAI, you can typically set that up in about like 10 minutes. You can use like TiDB as a vector store, use Llama Index as the orchestration framework, and you can basically get something going pretty easily. I think one of the main issues that oftentimes developers face is it's easy to get a demo running that you can show your boss, but it's hard to actually build something that you can scale to production users. And this includes a few factors. One is the level of like reasoning capabilities is not very sophisticated, so given some sort of like complex question, it's not actually able to answer that and give back a proper output. The other piece is it might not be able to handle a high user load. So with a lot of these chatbot applications that are in the POC stage, we ask ourselves, a lot of companies were building this, they're having issues scaling this to production. Can we do more, right? And so the value add of GenAI currently, when a lot of these applications aren't able to make it to production, is a little bit limited. You're running into hallucinations over your data. It's not giving back the proper responses. The time savings for the end user is also limited. As the end user, you're not really trusting the outputs of what the AI like chatbot is giving you, and so it's not actually saving you a lot of time if you don't trust the outputs. So our goal is to basically partner with folks like TiDB to help developers build something that is a knowledge assistant and also production ready. So I won't talk about all these components today, but we link some of these materials on our website, on our socials as well. But here are some of the fundamental ingredients towards building a GenAI-powered stack that helps deliver a production-ready knowledge assistant. The first piece is a high-quality data and retrieval layer. This is basically an ETL layer that's tailor-made for LLMs. The second piece is agentic reasoning over your inputs. There's a lot of interest in LLM-powered agents that can automate and process tasks of different complexity, and then be able to answer questions that are very complex, break it down into smaller steps, and call the right tools to synthesize the final response. The third is generalizing beyond just the output you get from ChatGPT into a proper output format. So for instance, instead of just producing a chatbot response, what if it generated like a Word doc or PowerPoint or slide deck? Instead of just telling you what to do, what if it actually performed an action like send an email or schedule a calendar meeting? And finally, there is a few components of the stack that you need to not just write like code in Python and call LLMs, but actually turn this entire system into a full stack application that can run on production infrastructure and run as a full like an end user facing UX with a full UI. For the purposes of this talk, I'll primarily talk about this high-quality data and retrieval layer, which is one of the foundations that you need for a properly functioning GenAI application, and of course, which TiDB is a part of. One of the use cases that we commonly face across a lot of enterprises is this idea of like a complex document. You have a PDF. It has a lot of tables. It has a lot of charts, diagrams, and oftentimes, when you try out the simple approaches of building a GenAI application, you skip out on the nuances of actually parsing these types of documents, which leads to really terrible performance over these document types. If you ask a question over a table or over an image in a paper, you're not able to get back the right response. And one of these use cases are super common. Everybody has Word or Excel or PowerPoint files. Everybody has PDFs. And so, how do you actually get back, the right answers over these? The first piece that we built was parsing. There's a lot of PDF parsers out there. We built a GenAI native parser that's specifically for LLMs. And so the requirements of this parser include really being able to parse tables really, really well, being able to structure all the text in the document in the format that LLMs can understand, and then also extracting visual elements into structured formats and image chunks. That is called Llama Parse. It's one of the core components of the Llama Index ecosystem. And it's basically a document parser, right? If you're building a Gen AI application, one of the first pieces you're probably going to need is some like souped up document parser. And that's basically what we provide as one of the initial components to the user. The next piece here is, besides parsing, you probably also want the rest of the layers of the ETL stack to transform that data into a storage system like a vector store. And so you can combine parsing with hierarchical indexing and retrieval to basically process your data in a hierarchical advanced manner and make sure it's in the right chunks or format to put into like a vector store. So instead of just doing naive text splitting on your documents, you actually process all the images, tables, and text. You model it in some sort of hierarchical fashion, and you store all the relationships between your entities in the downstream storage system. We're starting to get into the topic of graph-based data, and so that's also a very interesting extension that TiDB happens to support as well. And so you can leverage some pretty advanced algorithms to basically solve a variety of different use cases. Some of the use cases here that we've showed include multimodal RAG, so processing like a slide deck with like a ton of charts and images, and being able to, again, answer questions over this data. Being able to answer questions over financial reports with like 10K documents with a lot of tables, feeding in your entire Excel spreadsheets and having the LLM understand that, and then feeding in like insurance forms, extracting out the keys and values, and also actually generating like a new form on your own. Besides that, an interesting trend of RAG these days is, besides just like vector indexing, there's actually an increased interest in graph-based approaches. So currently, maybe just to give people context, RAG is primarily useful for questions that involve like pointed context from your source documents. Like if your question is very specific and the answer is only found in one part of the document, it's very good at that. What it's not very good at is actually understanding the complex relationships in a very domain-specific way. So if you're like a pharmaceutical company and you have this like complex ontology of like different drugs that you're experimenting with, or you're like a bank and then you have a bunch of these like reports and you're trying to like look at the relationships between them, oftentimes people like a graph-based approach towards exploring these relationships can be a little bit better. And so what people are very interested in doing is basically combining vector search, where it's very good at finding pointed relevant context, with graph-based relationship search, where it's able to pull in additional context by exploring the links of these nodes. And so there's this term called graph RAG that has emerged in popularity recently. And there's a few companies working on this. And what you really need is both the core storage layer to actually store the graph entities and relationships, and then, of course, the orchestration to automatically construct that graph and also query that graph, combine the capabilities of vector search and also graph-based retrieval. We came up with a core concept called property graphs. So property graphs are basically this abstraction where every node and every relationship has a set of structured metadata attached to it. And these nodes can be indexed via both vector embeddings and keywords. And graph RAG basically occurs in two phases. The ETL step is graph generation. Given some set of unstructured data, automatically build a graph from that using LLMs. Number two is graph querying. Given an existing graph, maybe with vector search and with some other structured metadata, figure out how to properly query that graph to retrieve the relevant context to answer the question. And this is basically part of what we're also rolling into Llama Cloud, our enterprise platform. Llama Cloud is our production-ready RAG platform that basically serves as the ETL layer for your Gen AI applications. It directly plugs into vector stores like TiDB, more on that in just a bit, and basically provides you instant time to value for building knowledge systems over your complex multimodal data, and is able to deliver high performance compared to other baselines. And basically, to wrap this up, there's really two things. One is on the open source side. We have an orchestration framework for helping you build applications. You can already use TiDB both as a vector store and also as a graph store. If you're trying to build like a RAG application, you start off with like a basic prototype. As you're looking to bring the entire system to production, we're partnering with TiDB to basically bring TiDB as both a vector and graph store into Llama Cloud. And bring really some of those concepts of graph RAG into something that's production ready, reliable, and delivers high performance. And that part is coming soon. So thanks again for having me.
Thank you, thank you. Super excited to be the partner with Llama Index to build an even more smooth user experience for Llama Index and Llama Cloud. So, and besides Llama Index, there are more integration with other popular AI development framework like Langchain, and you can find the guidance in their official document. How to use TiDB as the storage in Langchain. And more recently, and Defined AI also integrate TiDB as the backend storage, both for their open source and the SaaS service. So also worth a try. Okay, there are more. So, recently, we have so many, in addition to Langchain, DeFi, and the Llama Index, I think there are also recently we have more integration in the open source community on the way. So in the short period of time, you can see TiDB vector search already have its own ecosystem. So what's the reason behind such speed? I think part of the reason is due to our open source DNA. PingCap have been the open source company since day one, and the TiDB is an open source project under Apache 2 license, also since day one. So by the way, I am super proud that I have the honor submitting the very first pull request to TiDB. So recently I noticed there are a lot of noise in the market around the change of the open source database license. So I'd like to take this opportunity to reaffirm that open source is the fundamental part of our product and our company. And also it is a cornerstone of the trust that our customer place in us. So more than just saying, we want to make some real contribution back to the open source community. So today, we are going to offer the free TiDB Cloud Serverless credit to the open source developer, contribute to the open source vault on GitHub. So go get your credit on ossinsight.io. So if you are an open source developer, you can get a credit for free on for the TiDB serverless tier. And I personally got about $200, and the credit is up to $2,000. So can't wait to hear your feedback. Hey, thank you. Speaking out of the chest, aside of the open source, I think I want to also use the compliance and the security as the wrap up for my presentation. Security and the compliance always been a top priority for the database, any database company. This is something I want to emphasize. Earlier, Mark have already shared some new updates about the security features we have built onto our product. But from the company level, our efforts go far beyond that. From various certifications through the source code audit, today I'm really proud to say that we maintain the perfect record in the data compliance and the security within the enterprise market. So this is also our commitment to keeping the trust as a core component of TiDB. So thank you. That's my talk, and enjoy the rest of the HTAP Summit. Thank you very much.